I'm Ashley.
And I'm Jackie. Welcome back to Dumb Witch Club.
Yay! Hello!
Air signs!
Air signs!
That's literally how I feel about it.
Whole day.
All day we've been influenced by this.
Yes.
So let's do a card pull and see if we get some, some different energy or if we just get the same energy. What is this?
I brought the affirmation deck from Dreamy Moons.
Ooh, lovely. Lovely,
because
lovely.
I was like, I need affirmation for this episode.
You need to be affirmed.
And I don't know if it's like...
Here, do you want to pull?
Sure. I don't know if it's affirmation for us or if it's going to be affirmation for air sign placements or both. Or I don't know. But whatever it is, someone needs it and you're going to get it. So
I mean, you do have an air sign placement.
I do.
If we're being honest.
I do. The placement we shall not discuss. No, just kidding. I don't care. I love it. I love that placement. Now, I didn't always.
You didn't.
That's the truth.
You had to come around to it. Okay.
Jackie helped, as always.
All right. Get out.
It's you I'm searching for. Okay.
What does it say?
I go with the flow and feel my connection to the stream of life.
That's the most air sign shit I've ever heard.
It really is, because it's airstream. Like, the art is a hand sort of pointing. It has like it almost looks like star tattoos. It's really cute. And is sort of like almost like directing the air, which like the planets are like part of in a little orbit.
Yep. That's perfect.
It is perfect.
That's so good.
I knew this deck was necessary.
Yep.
And I feel affirmed by that, and I hope that other people do too.
Yes.
Okay, good.
Amazing. Okay,
great.
no, that makes me happy. We're off to a good start.
I love that.
Things are just so, like, calm right now. So nice. Right?
I don't know. No.
Okay, so as we have gone through all of the elements, we are now finally at air signs. I'm not going to say we did them in any particular order, but...
Right. No. What?
No,
we're dumb, remember?
Oh, we're too dumb to do something
We're too dumb
like
to
that.
do anything. We're too dumb to discuss anything.
Yeah, to know about hierarchies or whatever they're called.
What's that word? I've never heard that or used that in my lexicon. Also, what's a lexicon?
Oh my god, is that a card?
I'm just dumb. We're just dumb. We have them fooled.
Okay, this air sign energy, I'm not even kidding. Okay, so as we have done with all of the other elements, so we did fire, we did water, we did earth, now we're on air. So I think to start off, and I think it is really helpful to start off by looking at the actual, like, getting the symbolism from the actual element of air in the world, like in nature, right?
Yes.
I always like to kind of start with that. So what is the air, right? Like, the air is everywhere.
It's everywhere.
And I think a lot of the times you don't even know that it's there,
right?
But it's literally just there everywhere.
Yeah, it's just present.
It is present, and it is always doing what you need it to do, even though you don't know. The only time you might know is when it's like wind or you feel that, which sometimes you don't like.
Sometimes you don't like. Yeah, sometimes you really don't like. It's crazy. But yes, it's in everything. Like it's in, it's above, it's around, it's through, it's in our bodies.
Ew.
I know.
Don't talk about that.
I know, it's weird, but you need it to be because that's how you live. And that's something you don't think about because it's just an involuntary thing you're doing, unless, to your point, you can't do it. And then you're going to be thinking about it if you can't do it, which is scary, and I don't want to think about that. But it plays by its own rules, and it's hard to really define. It's so easy to define the others. It's so sort of tangible, and this is like not tangible.
No, and I think, but as we're trying, like, kind of struggling in a way to explain this, that is the energy of the air signs.
It is.
That there is this kind of, like, not necessarily conforming, I mean, can you put air in a box? Like, literally, if you have a box, I guess, if it's empty, it's still full of air.
I guess there's air in there.
We don't really say that there's air in it.
No.
You know what I mean?
It's more complex than that.
Yes, but it's still there, and it is full of air, even if it's empty. Like, I don't know. It just gets like these paradoxes.
It does, which is also very air energy, because then you really have to go into this sort of like brain-centered, scientific, but also like branching out of what science might not know. I mean, it's very like cerebral, and that's extremely air sign.
Yes, the air element is the element of mental life and sort of cerebral kind of thinking.
Yeah.
And we'll see that as we go through the individual signs in a little bit, like how it shows up kind of for each one in a different way. But I also think like the way we were trying to explain, like it's everywhere and it's innocuous, but then like the wind can blow, and then, or if you can't breathe, and like then it's like, this urgency, you're like aware of it, or like whatever. That is also air energy.
Very.
Like it can be very, when it's in your face, like it is
in your face.
And when it's not, it's just like, is it even there?
Yeah, like what is it doing? Or like, and it's like, I'm not doing anything. And you're like, I think you are though.
Yes.
But I'm not. And it can also be like it can be that, and it can also like it animates. Like, and when I say animate, I mean like give the literal definition of
like
animate.
Gives life
it
to.
Gives life to, right? Like it like blows across the water, and it sort of like makes the water flow, and the water needs to flow in order to whatever the other processes are, and like blows the trees or blows the seeds from where they are around so that it can like plant the other flowers that like the bees can go to, and then that facilitates that. Like,
and birds and bees like fly in the air, like on the currents and stuff like that.
Yeah, you need it to be the thing that's like buoyant for that to happen. So yes, it facilitates and animates a lot of things that you also maybe don't like necessarily think of, but that's happening. And then if you do think about it, it kind of blows your mind a little bit.
Yeah, exactly. And then you're like, I can't really think about this. It's really hard to think about.
Yeah, kind of like the breathing thing. You're like, ooh, don't want to think about that thing.
Yeah, like just do it. Don't make me know about it. Don't make me know.
They're like, good, you won't know. And we're like, okay.
Yes, that's so air energy as
Yeah,
well.
it is.
I like how you were mentioning the way that air interacts with all of the other elements.
Yeah.
And it was making me remember, you didn't mention fire.
Right.
And air and fire are both of the day energies.
Yes,
like we've talked about.
Right.
And the way that they interact in symbiosis is this very, like, what happens if you blow on a fire? Like, one, if it's a tiny little fire, you might extinguish the fire.
Yeah.
But if it's a little bit bigger of a fire, it's going to get even bigger.
Yeah.
Like, oxygen is what feeds fire, right?
Yeah.
So it creates this really, like, intense, kind of very active, unpredictable kind of combination.
Yes.
Yeah.
It animates fire in a way that the other elements certainly do not. I mean, one definitely does not, and the other really doesn't in that sort of as, you know, specific a way.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that can be, it literally like charges that element to be intense.
Yes, and like, I think in terms of intensity, I think the air signs are really among the most intense in terms of like being active. And that's more what that day energy is describing, where like the fire energy is like intense and active and kind of like demanding, how we were kind of talking about some of the earth signs being less demanding, and even the water signs in a way less demanding, more internal, more kind of, you know, but the air signs are very like, again, if you're in a hurricane, you're gonna know it.
Oh, yeah.
Or if you are a hurricane, or maybe not a hurricane, a tornado maybe is a better example. I don't know, whatever.
Yeah, whichever one. But I mean, all of that is valid, and you are gonna know it, and it is gonna show up like that. It is going to.
Yes.
At some point.
Yes, but then also it'll just like die down and go away, and then everything's still.
All of a sudden.
And even when it's still, though, I think the air is always moving anyways.
Yeah.
So it's like, it's crazy.
It is. It is crazy. It's a lot, and it's very, very hard to define succinctly. It's hard to define succinctly.
Yes. And so out of the air signs, what are the air signs? Let's maybe name those little friends off. We have Gemini.
Yes.
We have Libra. And we have Aquarius.
Yes.
And I think to some degree, some more than others, each of them just love being not defined.
Oh, they love it.
Or not able to be defined.
And it gets progressively more so.
Yes. I'm looking at you, Aquarius.
They're like, what?
You're freaking weirdo.
They're like, you don't see us. Like, you can look, but you're not.
Yeah, unless we want you to, and then you're not going to know what hit you.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes.
Yeah, tornado.
I know.
Yeah.
So how do we want to just start with Gemini, or how do we want to start? I think we kind of like started with the cardinal sign all the other times, actually.
We did start with the cardinal sign the other time.
So maybe we should do that again.
Okay, let's do that again.
So that would be...
That's Libra.
That would be Libra. So you can start.
Okay. Thanks. Thank you so much. It's so sweet of you. Yeah, love how that air sign just activated you to do that. Yeah, it's the second air sign in the zodiacal wheel.
Little Miss Studious came in. I love it.
I'm like, let's go with the facts. Libra loves the idea of balance.
Yes.
They're
Libra
like obsessed with it.
Is all about balance.
It's their whole vibe. It's literally their
Harmony.
whole vibe. It's their symbol. They're the scales.
That's right.
So they very much have this like peacekeeper, partnering sort of vibe.
Yes, it is also the house placement.
Yeah.
That really does have to do with relationships and sort of like your more significant like relationships.
Yeah.
And yeah, so there's all that like stuff.
I think that Libra, their brain has like a specific calibration.
Ooh, I like this.
Right? And just their brains are like set to calibrate in general. Whereas I don't think with other signs that obviously everybody has like that discernment, but I think that Libra is very focused, and I use calibration specifically because calibration is adjusted to the device.
Right.
Or the weight or the thing you're looking at or the element you're trying to measure, whatever it is. It's not just like a scale for scale's sake. And that's fine that that's the symbol, but I think it's a little bit more complex than that. I think Libra develop their own calibration that exists kind of within their consciousness. And then that is how they operate. They operate from that place. And then everything is kind of like weighed to that. And I think the part that underlies is like the values that they really hold strong. And then there's the part that can like adjust to like, well, yeah, but like I'm weighing this against this, so I sort of have to adjust here, and they will in that way.
Yeah, there is a lot of like calculatedness in Libra. And I don't mean that in a negative way or a positive way, just more of a neutral way. Like I think they are doing calculations. Some of that I think is for the sake of harmony and fairness.
Yes.
And kind of this sense of like, well, what makes sense for everybody, and like, then I think another part of it is, self-protection, and they have very high standards, high kind of aesthetic or image standards.
Oh, very much so, yeah.
So I think some of it protects that too.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, they're very committed. They're very committed to that. And yes, I think you're so right. They're so intentional on sort of being the one that kind of gets to make that decision and weigh that out. They really take that seriously.
Yes.
And so they really do try to do a good job at it, sometimes to their detriment, because it can skew into trying to make too many people happy and trying to see too many different sides or whatever, and then not confronting sort of their own biases within that, or having trouble doing that.
Or like not confronting other people when other people are being problematic. They're kind of just like, well, let's try to understand where they're coming from. And it's like, no, they're a bigot. Like, I don't care where they're coming from.
Absolutely.
As an example, I mean, whatever,
Yeah, and it can go that way, which then it's a little unfortunate because it's like the opposite of what a Libra wants, because then they're like alienating people.
Right.
And then they're upset that that's happening because they're like, well, I was trying to like be fair, like make everybody heard. And it's like you did, but then you really harmed someone because there is really no seeing the side of this. That's not really a side that's worth like entertaining. And they will, I think something worth pointing out about air signs and Libra specifically as well is that they are able to adjust and they move on very quickly from things like that. Mm-hmm. Like I feel like are some of the most, some of them are the most forgiving of signs.
Yes.
I think they can kind of be like, oh, okay. Even if other people are still holding on to it, I feel like they can be like, well, I didn't mean it that way. And now that you say it like that, I totally see what you're saying, but that's not what it was. So let's just...
Well, yeah, and I also think like they're very willing to forgive other people.
Oh, yeah.
And very willing to be like, oh, you didn't mean it like that? Oh, okay, like I get that. That's
totally.
fine.
You were having like a bad day or like, oh, you were coming from that.
Yes.
They can very much genuinely be like, yeah, they lashed out. Or, like, I've had Libra people tell me some things that people have done to them, and I'm like, I'm sorry, what? And they're like, yeah, but they were just, like, they just lost someone, and then it was, like, you know, they...
Bad timing,
and they couldn't, and I'm like, okay.
Yeah.
And they genuinely are like, no, it's fine.
Yeah.
I'm fine with it.
No, it's true. You know, I think Libra energy, which also applies to all of the air signs, can also be like weirdly detached.
Yeah.
Even though it's, I think, the most interpersonal of the interpersonal signs.
Definitely.
But they can also be very much like you're describing, kind of just like, oh, well, and that's the cerebral part, all interacting, is they'll hear an explanation and they're like, oh, okay, that explains it. And they're like satisfied with that. Like, it's so interesting, the interplay of all of that, you know?
It is. Because even when things are pointed out sometimes that like would tend to skew like a little deeper, I feel like they might recognize it's not like they're dumb. Of course, they're really brilliant.
But they can
people.
be somewhat superficial at times, and I think that includes emotionally.
Yes.
They can really resist going really deep, and I think that's why they stay in that intellectualized kind of place.
Yeah.
And they're really willing to just be like, oh yeah, they explained it. No, they explained it. It's fine.
Yeah, you
we're
don't
good,
need
we're
to.
good.
Yeah,
like,
we're fine.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And you're like, okay, but I think your feelings are like hurt, or I think, and no.
Yeah. No. If they were, I would know.
Yeah. Oh.
Okay then.
Okay. Yeah. It's fascinating energy. I feel like you'll know you're around a Libra, like a good sign is if you feel like the energy is catered very specifically to you.
Yes. Libras are very, very good at asking you a lot of questions.
Oh, love it.
And they always want to know about you. And it's genuine. You know, it's also a little deflecting, right? Yeah. But it's very genuine. They want to know about you. They want to know everything. And they will definitely... And that's kind of how they bring people together and very communicative like that. But absolutely.
Yeah. They are bringer-togethers.
Bringer-togethers.
They are. I feel like they can bridge a lot of differences and with some commonality and like... really make people feel important and really make people feel seen.
Yeah.
They'll notice things that other people won't notice. They'll notice things about you.
They'll remember things.
If you change your hair, they're gonna notice. If you change your outfit or it's new or jewelry or you get a new tattoo, they are the ones that are going to notice that.
Totally.
And to really notice it in a way that other people won't. Like, they will get like the exact aesthetic you were going for. Yeah. Like, your whole vibe, they'll read you to filth. Like, they'll be like, oh, yeah, and you were going for this, and it's kind of like a 1970s throwback to that, and you're just like, how did you know that? And they just do. They just do. They're really, like, good at that.
So I think this is also making me think, like, I think we should jump next, actually, out of order, to Gemini.
Okay.
Because what you're saying is really starting to remind me more of a lot of Gemini energy.
Okay, yeah.
Because I think that is one of the real strengths of Gemini energy, which is the mutable air sign.
Yeah.
One of the strengths really is that kind of chameleon ability.
Yeah.
That is very genuine and very sincere, but the ability to kind of like size up and read a room and sort of mold, again, in a very genuine way, but sort of mold to like, well, what does this person need? What does that person need? What is needed here? You
Absolutely.
know? And to just kind of do that effortlessly. It's why they get accused of being two-faced and duplicitous, but they're not necessarily.
Two-faced? Why stick with two when you can have endless ones?
Spoken like a Gemini rising.
Two? That's no fun.
What a waste.
What a waste. There's so many faces you can wear. That's amazing. The world is your oyster.
No, it's so perfect. I think we also didn't mention Venus is the planet that rules Libra.
Yes.
It's also associated with Juno, which is sort of a newer like asteroid, but just kind of another relationship planet. But Gemini is associated with Mercury.
Oh, yeah.
So Gemini is the very like energetic, sort of bebopping,
social butterfly.
Social butterfly. It's also the personal sign, though. It's not an interpersonal sign. So that means Gemini is really focused on themselves to some degree and their own growth and their own presentation, like in their lives.
And cultivating that in a very specific way.
Right.
Yeah, that they want that to be seen. Gemini gets a lot of hate.
It does.
A lot of hate. It's one of the signs that you'll see that will get the most, where people are just like, oh, Gemini, or like, how do I know I don't like you because you're a Gemini? You see this stuff a lot. And I've thought about it over the years. Obviously, I'm a Gemini rising. I've thought about this.
She really struggled to accept
I
that,
did.
honestly.
It was hard. Not just because I was buying into what other people thought. That wasn't really the case.
No, but it also is hurtful when you're hearing people make those comments
Totally.
about your sign.
Totally.
You know?
And it was confusing. I'm like, I understand where that comes from, but when I say confusing, I'm like, how is everything else this complex thing? And then when it comes to Gemini, it's just two-faced.
Well, no, and that's, for so long, astrology has been really reductionist. And
Very.
when we address these reductionist kind of qualities with other signs too, like Taurus being stubborn and, all of this kind of stuff. But no, that's like a particularly kind of awful one.
It is.
And it's because the twin symbolism of Gemini.
Exactly.
It's kind of like there's two of them, so there's not,
Yeah, and it's just an easy thing to jump to. And I think because of the air sign quality, people can't nail it down and it makes them mad. So then they are just like, oh, well, it's just this. They must be lying or they must be being fake. And what I've come to realize, and this might be like a hot take, but I really do think that it's true. I really see Gemini as the mirror of all of the signs. And I think that's why people are mad at it.
Well, and that actually really explains another interpretation of that twin symbolism.
Yep.
It's like you're looking in a mirror, and whatever you're seeing is your own reflection.
And people hate nothing more than that and love to project the things that they don't like onto others. And Gemini is very comfortable with that. They're just very comfortable adapting to different energies and code switching. Like, code switching comes naturally to Gemini like breathing. It's no problem for them.
And while I 100% agree with what you're saying, I think Gemini is also an energy that can be very singular when it comes to themselves.
Oh, yeah.
When it comes to who they are
and
what they will or won't do at any given time.
Yeah.
They're pretty much like we were saying in the house, we were talking to my daughter, like some Gemini that she knows tried to claim that he was nonchalant. And we were like, Gemini's the most chalant person in the world.
Unbelievably chalant.
All chalant.
Made of chalant.
Like, just shellacked with chalant, okay? It is happening.
Oh my goodness.
But this is the duality that you see and that they're experiencing.
Yes, it is. It is. But I also think that there's this like degaff side where like even if you say this, they don't care because they're like they're like care. Okay, because it's that air sign like cerebralness, right? Where it's like, yeah, okay, but like what is identity?
But see, I also feel like the little phrase that goes with Gemini energy is like, you thought.
Totally.
You give them a whole speech and you tell them everything about what they did and how it affected you and what they should do. And, they're like, well, I never said that. I never promised you that.
No, I never said that. Thought. I think you thought that, and then you put that into my words that I said.
But it's also like, no, you acted like that. You did that stuff. And they're like,
they're like, that was me yesterday.
Yeah, I didn't really think about it like that then.
Yeah, I've grown since then. And you're like, oh, you have.
It's not 9 a.m. like it was today.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
and they literally mean it.
No, I know.
Like, they do. They're like, what? Identity? We're always negotiating identity. We're always evolving. Like, and they genuinely mean it. Like, that was the me of before. I don't know her anymore. Don't bring that up because that's not me.
I don't want to meet her.
I don't want to meet her. I don't like her. Who are you discussing? Because that person is dead.
I also think this comes back to like when we look at the position in the zodiac wheel, Gemini is the first air sign. Yeah. And like we also see with Aries, with Taurus, and even with Cancer, like those cardinal, not cardinal, but those initiating those first signs that are in the zodiac.
Yeah.
They can tend towards, I don't want to say immaturity in a bad way. I'm an Aries rising, like trust, the baby of the zodiac. I don't think I'm immature, but there is this kind of like, whatever.
I'm baby.
That's how I am. Mm-hmm. They definitely can learn and grow, and they should, and they do, and they will.
Yeah.
But it's really on their own terms still.
It is. And I think, it definitely contrasts. I know we started with Libra, but it definitely contrasts with that energy because it's almost the opposite of it. Like, Libra is so sort of evaluative and is like, I don't want to say that, so it's going to bother the person. And Gemini's like, I'm saying it. And if it bothers them, well, then you're going to be bothered.
Well, yeah. And it's like, and you can come tell me and I'll listen. And then I'll be like, okay.
Cool.
Yeah.
I mean, what?
Good luck with that. Which is like really now bringing me to the Aquarius energy that we need to talk about.
Yeah, just slid right into it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because like no one gives fewer fucks than an Aquarius.
I mean, this is a fact.
It's just a fact.
It's a fact.
It's just a fact.
I really don't think that anyone would argue with that.
No.
How could you? How could you? If you have enough experience in this area, I don't think you would argue.
Yeah. Which is not to say they don't care about anything.
And absolutely
in fact, they care quite deeply about many, many, many things.
Oh, yeah.
But if it's not one of the things, then
it doesn't exist. The limit does not exist.
Yes, there's nothing.
And there's nothing you can do to make it exist for them.
No.
That's just, they don't hear you.
Right. Yes. Aquarius is known for being like kind of the quirky, unique sign because they love not being part of what is expected. They love being rebellious. They love doing the opposite of what you think they're going to do or what somebody else told them they should do.
Yes. And it's not in a pick-me way. I think sometimes people will think like, oh, I'm not like other girls. No, they don't even know what that means.
No. And if they did, they definitely wouldn't want to do it.
They wouldn't want to do that. They do not embody pick me at all.
Anything that's a thing, they don't want to do it.
No, they don't want to do it.
So if they're doing it, it's because they don't know it's a thing.
Yeah. And they genuinely don't.
And they don't.
No, they have this amazing ability to like block out to where they don't know. Like, I'm forced to know so many things against my will. I just got forced to know things against my will. I am forced to know so many things against my will, and I can't get them out. And I suffer. And Aquariuses don't suffer.
No. Because also, they're, on that getting to the end of the zodiac, there's nothing that's going to shock or surprise them. Either. So there's no information where they're going to be like scandalized by it.
No.
They're just like, whatever. They're like, and they just move on. They forget all about it. They don't care. The ability to not care.
It's unbelievable. I like slight little personal tidbit. My mother is an Aquarius. She was the most unshockable, unflappable, continues to be the most unshockable, unflappable. She's also British. That's part of it.
But it's more than that.
It's more than that. You could tell her, I don't care what I said.
Nothing moves her.
No.
like, she is just like this posture. And whatever you say, you want to try to shock her. She's just like, well.
Mm-hmm. You can say anything. And as a child, it was wonderful because people would say all kinds of out-of-pocket things, or they would say things that were like secret and you're not supposed to know. I knew I could ask my mom and she would tell me. I would be like, Mom, what is this? And she'd be like, who said that? Like,
yeah, exactly. Mom, what's the C word? She's like, well.
She would be like, say the word.
Yeah.
And I'm like, well, no, it's bad. No, I'm not going to know what that is, so you're just going to have to say the word. Say it.
And then you would hear her yell it at your Girl Scout leader.
Yeah. And then forget all about it.
Yeah, and then be like, whatever.
Yeah, that's in the past.
Yes.
That had to be that, and we're moving on.
No, and my dad is an Aquarius.
Yes.
Different vibe, but also,
but
he couldn't care much less about most anything. At all.
Has forgotten humans that have existed within the social circle that, like, in a significant role.
Yes.
And has forgotten completely.
Yes.
That they even existed.
He's like, who was that guy? Who? Did I meet him? I'm like, yeah, you met him like 5 times. He's like,
that's probably, well, they probably weren't memorable then.
Yeah, literally. I'm like, Daddy, you know?
Oh my God.
And he's like, what? He's like, you want some wine? We're having chips. What's going on?
Yeah,
he doesn't care.
It's off of the agenda. It's out of here. We're done. I'm up here now.
Doesn't care.
I know.
So, and look, I think we're telling these personal stories because it really does explain how Aquarius energy can be very frustrating.
It can.
It can be very, like, cold and detached, and this back and forth is sort of extreme. But, like, we love and adore, and we're even raised by people who really showed us, like, all of the sides of this.
Yes.
So I think we have, like, a really deep understanding of this.
We do.
And I love Aquariuses.
So do I. I
have a lot of family members, not just my dad, who are Aquariuses.
Same. Quite a few. Like, an over-representation of them in mine. Like, my niece, my nephew. Yeah, it's...
Yeah, my sister is also one. I grew up in a house with 2 Aquariuses.
Yes, you did.
And a Capricorn mom. With a Scorpio rising and a Scorpio moon.
Yeah.
Anyways, good thing I'm a Leo.
Yeah. My littlest nephew would identify with you quite a bit. Only fire sign amongst all of these people.
Yes.
I know. It's a lot. I
know.
But yes, like because we know and love these people, and we love, not just because they're family, I mean, part of that is,
sure,
we also love them for who they are and love these things about them. We do know it in, like, such a deep way, and how it can show up, and with these other placements that are combined with them and everything, but really just that, like, authentic Aquarius energy, like, we have, like, a really unique understanding of it, and sort of the frustrations therein.
Yes,
and
the good, bad, and the
bad, all of it.
And I think, Aquariuses and Geminis, Libras, I think, is a little different. Geminis and Aquariuses are just really easy when you meet them to just talk to.
Oh, yeah.
If especially with Aquarius, if they're taking an interest in you.
Sure.
If they are not, whatever.
Then
they won't remember you, but who cares? But Libra's a little different. I think it's much more like they're the interpersonal sign and they're very concerned about it. But I think sometimes they're not as easy to talk to because they are so concerned with making it a positive interaction.
Yeah, you can tell.
That it almost is a little bit anxious. But with Geminis, it's like supernatural. I think with Aquariuses, it can also be really natural if it's happening.
Yes,
and if it's not, they don't know you're in the room. They don't care.
Yeah, and that's very key because it'll be one or the other because they don't do small talk. They don't do pleasantries. They don't do sort of these social... They don't care to be socially normal. They don't care to do it. So they're
not necessarily rude or trying to be rude either. It's just the way that they are. And I think all of the signs, the air signs, have that sort of emphasis on being social and communication and maybe talkative depending on which sign and the conditions. But that's just sort of another unifying trait of all the air signs. And it can show up in really different ways, though, depending on which sign you're dealing with.
Yeah. Yeah, the other really, like, fascinating thing that I guess we should say about Aquarius is sort of the, because they have that, what do we call it? Is it transpersonal? Transpersonal. So they're very, like, humanitarian lens, and they are, you mentioned, like, the rebelliousness and everything. That is such an important part of who they are. Like, they are really, really interested in bettering things for everyone as a whole, they do care deeply about, it's usually big picture ideas.
Yeah, and the planetary ruler is Uranus, which is a disruptor and sort of like will not just build, but destroy and rebuild. Yeah. So that's the kind of energy. And it's that, like you said, transpersonal kind of like, but the way that they're going to enact that change is by disrupting and rebelling and being like, you can't control me and you can't control us.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. And they're fearless about it. And they will, they end up being sort of like the movement makers and the trendsetters and all of these things, not trying to be it. It's just because they are so willing to march to the beat of their own drum. They are so willing to take that step out and be the person that has to be the spokesperson if they need to, and step into these roles. Even if it's not really what they want to do, they'll do it if it's for the greater good.
Yes. No, and we haven't talked about any like people or celebrities that have any signs this whole time, but I'll just say the person that comes to mind with what you're talking about is Harry Styles.
Yes.
Like, he talks all the time about how he's not really a good singer, about how he can't believe that this is his career and his fashion and all the stuff that he does, and he's so edgy, and he's also like, I don't know how I got this job, but I'm gonna do it.
Yes.
And he like kicks ass all the time doing it, and he's outspoken, and the gender stuff. Anyways, whatever. So I'm just saying that's the kind of person, the kind of energy that comes to mind when you're talking about that. Anybody that's a little bit weird, even if they're mainstream also.
Yeah.
Like that's the energy. That's what you see.
Yeah. It's anybody that's a little weird, but they're also so cool.
Totally.
That you're like, cool. How are you so just cool? Because anybody that's a little weird, that might be a Gemini. But anybody that's a little weird, but also is this like super effortless.
Yeah.
You're magnetized
it's elevated.
They're magnetic, man. Like, that is, that has and can be my kryptonite. Because they're fascinating, and you want to know more, and you get all wrapped up, and sometimes
my dad's gonna love this part of the episode.
I know.
Hearing her say that.
They do love that. They do, and it's easy to get drawn into that. It really is, because they do know so much, and it's a charisma. It's like a charismatic leader energy, without hopefully not being one and not being a cult leader, but sometimes they are. Yeah. But even if they're not, it's still that they
even
have.
If they're not cult leaders,
even if they're not cult leaders, they have like that propensity where you're just like hanging on their words, because you're like, there's something different about them, like, and they're very like romantic thinkers too. So I think that's
there's some idealism.
Yeah. So then you get, if you're someone who also feels that way about things, you do get a little bit drawn into the orbit, and you're like, oh my gosh, this is this, and then they're like, no, it's not that, and you're like,
but I just spent all this time building up that.
Wait,
they're like,
that was all you.
Yeah, I know.
Go ahead.
Go ahead and do it.
Go do that over there, and you're like, no.
I think so. I feel like in the spirit of air energy, I feel like we've been talking a really long time about all of this. And I think, we could go on and on, obviously, but I don't think we should.
I don't think we should.
I think we should.
I feel a little like, ugh.
I know, it's very frenetic. Like, yeah, I definitely feel like I got so much more to say, but...
And then we're going to start saying things that we shouldn't say.
That's very true.
Because they very much have the ability to make you do that too. And then you're like, oh,
and they really can elicit a lot of opinions that we don't want to always say out loud.
Yeah, that part too.
Because not that anything is bad or anyone is bad. It's just that in life you have personal experiences with people who happen to have certain signs, and then you associate personal experiences with those people and the signs that they have.
Yeah, some people are definitely bad.
Yes, and it doesn't matter what sign they are.
No, but sometimes they happen to be certain ones.
Well, they must be if they were born. So.
Yeah. Oh, air signs. Oh.
All right. I think that's it. Until next time.
Stay witchy, friends.
And stay dumb.
Dumb Witch Club is written and hosted by us, Ashley Sidner
and Jackie Gerard, at the Dumb Witch Clubhouse in Orange County, California.
Produced and edited by Matt Heinemeyer. Art direction by Violet Turner. Culture consultant Jane Turner.
Original music by Ashley Sidner. Look us up on all your favorite social media platforms, including TikTok and Patreon.
Until next time, stay witchy, friends.
And stay dumb.